respect you.
I'm gonna just say, as I've said, y'all know I started church in Kojic. That had me. He tied my bow tie. I was like, I think I reached back and spoke in a tongue that was not English when I heard that part. And then it was to the point where you had the good congressman. He referred to you as bruh. Now, he don't usually go back into the vernacular of our folk in these spaces, but you had him tongue-tied in that moment. Why was that point so disruptive in them? I mean, this is the closing. This is the Tez on 10. I think that's the name of the show. Tesla and Figaro, I believe is the sister's name. She's doing amazing work and highlighting these conversations. That point, however, about the fact that Byron Donalds represents and we when I first aired it on the show, we pulled the census data. You are absolutely right. It's overwhelmingly a white district, and we read the census data out on air. Why does that matter, particularly for the way that Byron Donalds and other Black elected officials like him show up?
Because, and I have not had the opportunity to talk about this interview since it happened, really. And I think that it got under his skin because sometimes, where I'm from, we say a hit dog hollers. He cussed, he called me bro, all of that. And that's because somebody was able to make the point that nobody ever makes on him, that you're the tool. And he said the quiet part out loud. He said, what does it matter if you can't make money and create generational wealth? What does it matter to go over there and fight for Black people if you can't make money and have generational wealth? What does it matter to fight for your liberty and justice if you can't make money and have generational wealth? That's why I said I'm making money and creating generational wealth, brother, but I ain't got to sell myself out to do it. I ain't got to sell my people out to do it. I ain't got to go over there and disown my people, basically, in order to get elected. Now, there are a lot of Black men that take that route, right? That decide that I'm going to go be a Republican because speaking truth to power is a difficult job.
I'm going to add Black women to that too, because we just had Lauren Ashley Simmons on, and the incumbent, she unsat in her primary as a Black woman who was now full on MAGA because she thought that was going to be an outlet for her to be able to make money and create generational wealth. So I'm going to make it an equal opportunity thing, although I do think there are some gender disparities as well.
I just think that we've seen more Black men be comfortable in taking that position. And especially when you are a dark-skinned, burly Black men like myself and the congressman, right? We are not typically received in the same way as some of our other counterparts, if we're honest, because colorism comes into play. There's a whole lot of dynamics that come into play when people the size, color, and structure of Congressman Donalds and myself walk in. So many of us find a way to make ourselves less threatening to other people so that they accept us. We pick our spouses a certain way. We move into certain communities. We go to certain schools. We do certain things because we become more palatable to a certain audience of people. And that being palatable allows us to be electable. And once we be electable, pay attention to this now. There ain't that many Black people on that side that were on the short list to be vice president.
Come on.
He was. So it is what we need to pay attention to is that there are people who will take an individualistic approach to their politics in order to advance themselves, and then they become the tool used in our community to come and convince us because they look like us, they walk like us, they talk like us, but all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Right.
And the good congressman may have some understanding. Where I feel sorry for him is that I know he knows better. I know he knows better because I've had the opportunity to have a conversation with him. And what was really most compelling to me was if you listen to us talk about the education piece, there was a lot of similarity in the way that you view that, because when you had to be honest, you had to admit that this is not truly working and that we should look at this differently. Now, the looking at it differently, I think everybody's being honest, Democrats and Republicans, that we screwed education up and we need to figure it out. But I think that the answer to the solution on the conservative side has always been to privatize what we know they will never privatize in their communities, right? And charters is privatizing our education in a different form, giving other people control of your tax dollars on your education. But to the main point, when you have people like him in those situations, they get upset by truth. Because, and what I studied the brother before we got there. And I had to ask myself, what does he do constantly that allows him to win in these debates? He overtalks people. Well, you can't do that against me. I'm from South Louisiana, baby. I shoot the dozens with the best of them. And number two, he cannot argue with facts. He cannot argue with facts, so he overtalks you. And so you just present enough facts on him. And I wish we had had the opportunity to talk about the Black family, because I have been tired of him chastising the Black family when he abandoned me.
That's right. And that's one of the things I said on this show was like, listen, I don't mind. You marry who you marry, love who you love, but you don't get to chastise us for not upholding the Black family when you did not uphold the Black family.
I don't care. Listen, I don't care who you date. I don't care who you love and end up with. But don't come over here giving me a lecture about what should happen in the Black family. And when you decided to create a family, you didn't decide to do so with a Black woman.
That's right.
Now, you have the right to love who you want. But then when that criticism comes out is where we as a community have to say, wait now. Wait. You're not really qualified to give that level of critique because you haven't made that level of investment. Oof. You can't get a return on an investment you didn't make.
Come on. And you cannot be an expert in spaces that you abandoned. No shame, no shade. Like, you do what you got to do.
But don't come checking me about something you didn't do. As a Black person, we need to qualify who we listen to. If you went to a white community and a white school to get elected and you got in a white community to represent them, but now every time you come out, you're not sitting in the room with a bunch of white people telling them how to vote. You're sitting in the room with a bunch of Black people telling them to join you over there with people who vote against our liberties. That is counterproductive. But if you are going over there for an individual gain, you may personally be able to gain some wealth, gain some notoriety, but you can sell your people, but you can't buy them back.
Oh, my God. Gary,
you can sell your people, but you can't buy them back. I just want every Black person out there who considers that you're going to go over there and play these games. Black folk may not open their mouth. They may not criticize you. They may listen to you. But when they find out the truth, you can sell us, but you can't buy us back because you ain't got enough money. The white man ain't going to give you enough.
And frankly, we don't want to be bought and sold in those ways. Gary Chambers, you are doing the Lord's work, as my father would say. Well, I appreciate how you show up. I particularly appreciate you injecting the notion of colorism in the conversation as it pertains to Black men in this space, because that is a conversation topic that we do not discuss nearly enough. And I know that as someone who benefits from light-skin privilege, that it is a fundamentally real thing, and we have to be clear about it.
Let me say this one point.
Go right ahead.
New Orleans has never had a dark-skinned mayor.
Ooh.
New Orleans has had multiple Black mayors. They've never had a dark-skinned mayor. Colorism is a real thing.
That's right.
Colorism is in South Louisiana, colorism is a real thing. Now, Baton Rouge, closer to the plantation, closer to the things that were going on, we've never had a light-skinned mayor. Both of our Black mayors have been dark-skinned. We don't talk about these things out loud because they make us have uncomfortable conversations. But the reality is the psyche of a community comes out in the way that they vote.
Ooh, yes, indeed. Gary Chambers, the man gonna cut us off because we at the end of the show. Will you come back? Because I think that whole conversation that you just gave us a breadcrumb to, that is something that we need to unpack. We have the very uncomfortable conversations here, which is why we start every day with a moment of gratitude, so we can focus on joy, gratitude, and appreciation before we got to get to slicing. And I appreciate a good slicing session. What's the best way for people to follow you, to connect with you, and to really learn more about how you're moving? Because I feel like if we could get more of us to move the way that you move, to have the political insight and the words to be able to call a thing boldly, unapologetically, and walk in such a way that your purpose is in alignment with the needs of our people. What's the best way for folks to connect with you on that aspect?
Everything's at Gary Chambers Jr. on social media. I'm going to be rolling out some new things in the next month or so that I feel will help us be on the same page moving forward.